Students, we are going to continue with chapter 1 of NCERT, that is reproduction in organisms. In our previous presentation, we have learned gametogenesis, in which chromosomes number get haploid. We have to consider the fact that during gametogenesis, only those organisms which are haploid undergo mitosis and diploid organisms undergo meiosis. I hope you have done several examples of haploid and diploid organisms till now. A beautiful animation related to the process of meiosis is being presented over here, and you can see the division of chromosome from the parent cell to the daughter cells. The parent cell is the diploid one, however, the daughter cells are the haploid one. This process, that is meiosis, is very, very important for the gamete formation or gametogenesis. From single parent cell, here four haploid daughter cells are being produced. Okay, so let's continue with the today's presentation. Topics which are being covered in this tutorial are chromosome number in meiocyte and gamete, difference between menstrual and oostrous cycle, fertilization or syngamy, difference between external and internal fertilization, post-fertilization events, zygote development, embryogenesis, oviparous and viviparous animals, embryogenesis in flowering plants or angiosperm. This is the table from NCERT where diploid organisms are being placed along with the chromosome number in meiocyte and chromosome number in gamete. From our previous discussion, you can recall what are meiocyte. Meiocyte are parent or mother gametic cells. These are the cells which are going to give rise to the gametic cells. As the organism being presented over here are the diploid one, so the meiocytes are the diploid, and the gametes which are being produced by the process of meiosis are the haploid one. So let's move to the first example, that is human beings or Homo sapiens. Human beings are the diploid, so the meiocytes are the diploid, that is 46, and gametic content will be the haploid one, that is 23. Now move to the next example, that is housefly. The meiocyte are having 12 number of chromosome. The chromosome number in gamete will be the haploid one, that is 12 is being divided by 2. The number will be 6, and 6 will be the number of the chromosomes in the gamete. Now let's move to the next example, that is rat. Here the chromosome number in the gamete is being given, that is 21, and we have to calculate the chromosome number in meiocyte of rat. So how we can calculate? Simply by multiplying 21 by 2. That will be 42. Now you can calculate the chromosome number in gamete of dog by the chromosome number being given in meiocyte, that is 78, and you can divide 78 by 2. You will have 39 chromosomes in gametes of dogs. Similarly, you can calculate rest of the gaps by simply dividing or multiplying by 2, as the case may be. If the case is of meiocyte, you have to multiply by 2, and if the case is of gamete, you have to divide the number by 2. Now comes to the difference between menstrual and oostrous cycle. First of all, student, you need to understand that these cycles occur into the body of the organism only when the egg is being unfertilized. If there is fertilization event happen, the egg is going to produce the embryo and later on the young one. Okay, so these cycles are exclusive for unfertilized egg, and these egg are being produced by the female body. So these are the cycles which occur into that of the female body. Menstrual cycle occurs only in primates, that is monkeys, apes, and human beings. And oostrous cycles occur only in non-primates, that is cow, sheep, dogs, rats, deer, tiger, etc. So You have to recall from the discussion of class 11th that primates and non-primates are the classes of mammals. Menstrual cycle consists of various phases like menstrual phase, proliferative stage, and secretory phase. However, Usha's cycle is very short, and the egg is being released with some amount of heat. Okay, so in this cycle, the body temperature of the female is going to risen up a little bit when unfertilized egg is going to be released from the female body. In menstrual cycle, there will be the blood flow from the body of the female, and in Usha cycle, there will be no blood flow from the body of the female. So I'm repeating once again, menstrual cycle and Usha cycle occur only when there is a non-fertilization or there is unfertilized egg is being released from the female body. If egg is going to be fertilized, the embryo is going to be produced from the fertilized egg and later on the young one. Menstrual cycle is exclusive for the primates and Usha cycle is exclusive for non-primates. Menstrual cycle consists of various stages like menstrual phase, proliferative stage, and secretory phase. However, Usha cycle is very short, and a little bit amount of heat is being produced in this process. So the body temperature of the female is going to be rising up. Blood flows in this cycle, that is menstrual cycle, and blood does not flow in Usha cycle. I hope this difference is clear to you. This can be asked in CBSE board examination, so you have a clear cut understanding with the menstrual cycle and Usha cycle. Now move to the fertilization or syngamy. These are the synonym: fertilization or syngamy. Fertilization refers to the fusion of male and female gametes to produce the diploid zygote. So haploid male and female gametes are going to give rise to the diploid zygote. In some of the organisms like rotifers, honeybees, lizards, and birds, the unfertilized egg is going to give rise to the full-fledged young one or the mature one. Okay, so the unfertilized egg have the capacity, or the female gamete have the capacity to give rise to the young one without any fertilization. This is a very very important point. Without fertilization, the female gamete give rise to the young one. The examples are very, very important from CBSE point of view. These are rotifers, honeybees, lizards, and birds. Fertilization are of two types: external fertilization and internal fertilization. Let's move to the difference between external fertilization and internal fertilization. In external fertilization, the fusion of the gametes occur outside the body of the organism. That is very, very important point. X means outside the body of the organism. The fusion or the fertilization events occur outside the body of the organism. However, in case of internal fertilization, the fusion or the fertilization of the gametes occur inside the body of the organism. In for internal and in for inside the body of the organism. External fertilization uh, occur when large number of both male and female gametes need to be released into the surrounding medium. As you can understand from this point, that there is lots of vulnerability from the predator, and there is lot of stress from the abiotic factor. So large number of male and female gamete need to be released into the outer environment to have more chances of the fertilization. In internal fertilization, there will be large number of sperms being produced, however, lesser number of eggs are being produced. Why this is? Because sperm need to travel to the reproductive tract of the female body. So, sperms need to be produced more in number, however, the number being produced in case of eggs is quite lesser when we compare it to with the sperm. Okay. The offsprings are extremely vulnerable in case of external fertilization. As you can understand, the offsprings always live in an environment which is quite harsh, and there's a lot of abiotic stress, and quite vulnerable to the predator. The offsprings which are being produced by the internal fertilization have a quite a safer environment in comparison to the organism which are being produced by the external fertilization, because the development of the young one takes place inside that of the body of the organism. The examples of organisms which are having external fertilizations are bony fishes, frogs, and some examples of algae. Internal fertilization occur in birds, mammals, etc. Okay, this is a beautiful animation which represent the process of fertilization, how egg is going to meet with that of the sperm, and ultimately diploidy is being achieved in zygote. These egg and sperms are the haploid cells, and when the nucleus of these cells are going to fuse, zygote is going to be produced, which is diploid in terms of chromosome content. Okay, now move to the fertilization events. There are two events after fertilization, that is zygote development and embryogenesis. Zygote development. In case of external fertilization, zygote is going to be formed into the outer environment, and whereas in case of internal fertilization, zygote is going to be formed inside the body of the organism. Further development of zygote depends upon the life cycle and environment which has been prevailing. Okay, so development of the zygote is quite vulnerable to the environment being provided to the young one. A zygote ensures continuity of the species. Without zygote formation, there will be the halt in the species, and might be there are the chances that the species is going to be extinct. Okay, in case of algae and fungus, the zygote develops a thick wall to prevent any sort of a desiccation or damage. This is very, very important point. In algae and fungus, the zygote develops a thick wall to resist any sort of desiccation or any sort of damage. In haplontic life cycle, the zygote undergo mitotic division to produce a number of cells, because mitosis process is quite important to develop a multicellular organism. Zygote is a single cell. So how the cellularity is being achieved in the organism? That is by repeated division by the process of mitosis. Okay. This is the diagram of zygote, and you can see two independent nucleus from male gamete and female gamete is being persisting in single cell, that is zygote. So, in which stage the male and female nucleus occur as a separate entity, and there are two separate nucleus. That is the case of zygote, and you can see from the microscopic view of uh, the zygote, there are two independent nucleus, and after the fusion of these nucleus, the diploidy is being achieved, and these nucleus are haploid till now, and later on they will fuse and form the diploid cell. Okay. Embryogenesis is a process of development of the embryo from the zygote. Okay, so during embryogenesis, the zygote is undergoing to produce a lot number of cells by the process of mitosis. Why large number of cells are being produced? Because these cells are going to be specialized in terms of tissues or organs or to the next hierarchy of the living system. So different cells are going to perform different functions, and from this specialization, the various tissues and organs are going to be formed in later stages of the embryogenesis. This is a beautiful animation how the fertilized egg is going to divide by the process of mitosis and going to form blastocyst. Okay, so this blastocyst ultimately going to convert into that embryo. You can see the single zygotic cells is going to divide by the process of mitosis, going to form 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cell stage, and ultimately a blastocyst is going to form, and this blastocyst is going to convert it into the young one. This is very, very important point. You have to remember that zygote is a diploid cell, and it undergo to the repeated mitotic division and going to produce a large number of cells. And after having such a number of cells, the cells are going to be specialized out for a particular function. Oviparous and viviparous animals. Based on whether the zygote development takes place outside the female parent body or inside the animal body, the organism are going to be classified as oviparous and viviparous. Let's have a view over the difference between oviparous and viviparous animals. Oviparous animals refers to the animals that produce egg. They lay egg and that mature and hatch after being expelled out from the female body. However, in viviparous, the animals that give rise to birth to develop live young individual. That is very very important. They give birth to the young one, and in oviparous they lay eggs. Lay either fertilized egg or unfertilized egg. In case of oviparous animals, this is very very important point. They they can give they can lay the egg either fertilized stage or in a unfertilized stage. In viviparous, the organism is going to give birth to the young one. As a case may be, like in case of a oviparous animal, the animal is going to give rise to the young one by laying eggs, and these eggs, if are not being fertilized inside the body of the organism, then the fertilization will be the external one. If the organism is going to release the fertilized egg, the fertilization will be the internal one. So there are both chances. The organism may have internal fertilization or external fertilization. However, in case of vivipary, the fertilization will always be the internal one. The development of the zygote occur outside the female body in case of oviparous animal, and the zygotic development occur inside that of the female body in case of viviparous animal. Embryo receive all sort of nutrient from the yolk as in case of oviparous animals, and in case of viviparous, the embryo receives nutrients from the mother, because the young one is very well protected inside the womb of the mother, and every sort of nutrient is going to be provided with the help of placenta if the case of mammal is being considered. So whole sort of nutrition is being provided from that of the mother body. However, in case of oviparous, the nutrients are being provided from the yolk part. The chances of survival in case of oviparous are quite less, because there is a link of the undeveloped young one. So the survival chances are quite less in case of oviparous animal. However, the chances of survival in case of viviparous animals is quite enormous. The example of oviparous animals are like birds, reptiles, amphibians, fishes, insects, etc. And in case of viviparous, the most common example are the mammals one. Embryogenesis in flowering plants or angiosperms. Angiosperms are the flowering plant we have discussed in class 11th. In flowering plants, the zygote is formed inside that of the ovule. That is very very important point. The zygote is formed inside that of the ovule, and we have done the dissection in your class 11th, and you have a clear cut idea how zygote is going to be formed, and ultimately the seed development takes place. The fertilized ovule develops into the seed, and ovary part, the rest of the ovary part is going to develop into the fruit. The seed dispersal in favorable condition leads to the germination and ultimately the production of the new plant. The outer protective covering of the fruit is called as pericarp or the fruit wall. And here some of the ovary of the plants has been presented, and you can see the seeds are being shown over here along with that of the pericarp. Pericarp is referred as fruit wall. Okay, seeds are being represented by the symbol of S, and pericarp is represented by the symbol of P. Okay, so in this case these are the seeds, and the fruit wall is here. Similarly, in this case, the seeds are being represented as S, and pericarp is represented by the symbol of P. Okay, PE refers to the pericarp, and this is this is also called as fruit wall. That's all for chapter one. I hope you are doing well. And first of all, I want to announce that the chapter has been completed. You, if you are facing any sort of doubt, you can raise it on the spreadsheet being shared with you. And in the very next class, I'm going to take the MCQ test of whole of the chapter. Okay, thank you.